Kyle Morrison stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber and felt the weight of 1,000 eyes upon him. Some of those eyes were compound, others were single glowing orbs, and a few belonged to creatures that saw in wavelengths humans could not imagine. But all of them watched him with the same expression: doubt. The chamber itself was a marvel of engineering, a perfect sphere that floated above the surface of Axiom Prime. Each species had their own section, adapted to their specific needs. The aquatic delegates swam in columns of water held in place by gravity fields. The methane breathers occupied sealed domes of toxic gas. The silicon-based life forms rested on platforms of extreme heat. And the humans, along with a few dozen other oxygen-breathing species, sat in the temperate zone that felt almost normal. Kyle took a breath and spoke clearly. His words were translated instantly into 700 languages by the Council's systems. 200 years ago, my people were dying. 3,000 humans, stranded on a world that was tearing itself apart. We had no way home. No way to call for help. We had weeks to live, maybe less. He paused and looked directly at the Velran delegation. They floated in their water column, their translucent bodies catching the light in beautiful patterns. Elder Thrissix was among them, ancient even by Velran standards. The Old One's tentacles moved in a gesture of acknowledgement. The Velrans found us by accident, Kyle continued. They were exploring as they always do. Peaceful, curious. They had no reason to help us. We were an unknown species from a distant world. We had nothing to offer them. Our technology was primitive compared to theirs. We could not repay them. A member of the Krath Dominion, a tall creature covered in dark scales, made a dismissive sound. High Commander Zarak leaned forward in his seat. This council does not have time for sentimental history lessons, human. State your purpose. Kyle did not look away from the Krath commander. The Velrans gave us everything. Medical supplies, food, technology to repair our ships. They spent 6 months helping us, depleting their own resources, and then they gave us safe passage home. When we offered to repay them, to send resources, to establish trade, they asked for only one thing: friendship. The chamber was quiet now. Many of the delegates knew this story, but hearing it told by a human who had been there gave it new weight. Kyle had been 7 years old when the Velrans saved him. He still remembered the gentle touch of Elder Thrissix's tentacles, the soothing sounds they made, the kindness in their luminescent eyes. For 200 years we have been friends with the Velrans, Kyle said. We have traded with them, learned from them. They taught us about the galaxy, introduced us to other species, and vouched for us when we sought membership in this council. They asked for nothing in return. That is the Velran way. He turned now to address the full council. 3 months ago, the Krath Dominion issued an ultimatum to the Velran people. Surrender your worlds or face invasion. The Velrans brought this matter before the council, as is their right, and this council voted not to intervene. There was a stirring in the chamber. Some delegates looked uncomfortable. Others remained unmoved. The decision had been made based on cold logic. The Krath Dominion was powerful, commanding over 500 warships. They had never lost a conflict in their 2-century expansion. No one wanted to risk war with them over a small, peaceful species that controlled only 3 star systems. The Council's decision is final, said Speaker Voth, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell. The Krath have not violated galactic law. Territorial expansion between independent systems is not prohibited. The Council cannot intervene in every dispute. Kyle nodded slowly. I understand the Council's position. Humanity does not challenge it. We respect the laws and traditions of this body. He paused, and his next words came out firm and clear. But humanity also respects its debts. The Velrans gave us everything when we had nothing. They saved 3,000 lives and asked for nothing in return. That debt has weighed on us for 200 years. High Commander Zarek laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the translation systems. The humans want to play at war. You have 60 ships, maybe 70. We have 500. You have been a spacefaring species for barely 2 centuries. We have conquered worlds for longer than your species has had faster-than-light travel. Kyle finally turned to face the Krath commander directly. His voice remained calm. I am not here to threaten you, Commander. I am here to inform the Council of Humanity's decision. In 3 days, the human fleet will depart for Velron space. We will stand between the Velrons and any force that seeks to harm them. We will defend their worlds as if they were our own. The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates shouted questions. Some demanded humanity reconsider. Others warned of the consequences. A few, very few, remained silent and thoughtful. Speaker Voth's voice cut through the chaos. Ambassador Morrison, you understand what you are saying? Humanity would face the full might of the Krath Dominion for a species that cannot aid you in return? This is irrational. Kyle looked up at the speaker's platform. Perhaps it is irrational by the standards of galactic politics, but humanity has a different standard. We do not forget our debts. We do not abandon our friends. The Velrons stood with us when we were helpless. Now we stand with them. He gathered his documents and prepared to leave. Before he walked out, he turned one last time to address the council. His final words would be repeated across the galaxy for years to come. Humanity does not forget its debts. The Velrons gave us everything when we had nothing. We will stand with them regardless of the cost. To the Krath Dominion I say this: leave the Velrons in peace, and we will have no quarrel. But if you attack them, you will learn what it means to face humanity when we are defending those we love. The doors closed behind him, leaving the council chamber in chaos. In her water column, Elder Thrissix wept with emotions too complex for words, and in the Krath section, High Commander Zarek smiled with absolute confidence. The humans would learn their lesson soon enough. None of them yet understood what was truly coming. The war room on Earth was 3 kilometers below the surface, protected by layers of reinforced steel and energy shields. Admiral Ben Harper stood at the head of a table surrounded by holographic displays. Each display showed a different warship, a different system, a different piece of the vast machine humanity was about to deploy. "Tell me we're ready," Harper said to the assembled officers. Captain Kate Palmer stepped forward. She commanded the Valiant, one of humanity's newest warships. "The fleet is assembled beyond Neptune, sir. 63 vessels, all fully crewed and supplied. We can depart within 6 hours. Harper nodded and turned to the display showing the outer solar system. There, hidden in the darkness beyond the last planet, floated a fleet that made him both proud and uneasy. For 200 years, while humanity had smiled and traded and made friends across the galaxy, they had also been building this, not because they wanted war, but because they remembered what it meant to be helpless. Lieutenant Jake Peterson, one of the youngest tactical officers in the fleet, raised his hand hesitantly. "Sir, permission to speak freely?" "Granted," Harper said. "Are we really going to do this? Fight the Krath for a species that can't help us win? The odds are against us. We could lose everything." Jake's voice carried the uncertainty many felt. Harper looked at the young officer for a long moment. 200 years ago, the Velrons helped us when the odds were against them too. They depleted their supplies. They risked their own missions. They did it because it was right. He gestured to the fleet display. We built all of this hoping we'd never need it. But if we don't use it now, what was the point? What kind of species are we if we abandon our friends because it's difficult? Jake nodded slowly, understanding but still troubled. Harper did not blame him. What they were about to do would change everything. Dr. Emma Rodriguez entered the war room, still wearing her civilian clothes. She was a xenobiologist who had lived with the Velrons for 5 years, studying their culture and biology. She had rushed back to Earth when the crisis began. "Admiral, I just received a message from Elder Thrissix," Emma said, her voice tight with emotion. "He's begging us to reconsider. He says humanity doesn't need to do this. He says the Velrans will evacuate their worlds rather than let us risk ourselves." Harper's jaw tightened. That sounds exactly like something Thrissix would say. "What did you tell him?" "I told him it's too late. The fleet is already moving." Emma wiped at her eyes. He started crying. I've never seen a Velran cry before. The room fell silent. These were military officers trained for combat, but the image of the gentle Velrans weeping affected them all. "Listen to me, all of you," Harper said, his voice carrying command. "The galaxy thinks they know humanity. They see us as traitors, explorers, diplomats. They think we're soft because we smile and make deals and avoid conflicts. What they don't understand is that we choose peace. We're not peaceful because we're weak. We're peaceful because we know exactly what war costs." He pulled up new displays, showing detailed analysis of every battle the Krath had ever fought. "We've been studying them for decades. Every species they've conquered, every tactic they've used, every weakness they have. The Krath are powerful, but they're predictable. They've won so many times that they've stopped learning. They fight the same way every time because it always works." Captain Kate Palmer smiled slightly. "And we're going to show them why that's a mistake." "Exactly," Harper said. "We're not going to fight them the way they expect. We're not going to meet them in direct fleet combat where their numbers matter. We're going to fight them the human way." Jake Peterson leaned forward, studying the tactical plans. His eyes widened as he began to understand. "Sir, this is brilliant and terrifying." "War is always terrifying, Lieutenant. That's why we avoid it when we can. But when we can't avoid it, we make damn sure we win." Harper turned to Kate. "Captain Palmer, how long until the fleet reaches Velran space?" 4 days at maximum speed, sir." "Make it 3. I want us there before the Krath deadline expires." Kate nodded and left to relay the orders. The other officers began filing out, each to their assigned duties. Emma remained behind, looking at the tactical displays with a scientist's curiosity and a friend's dread. "We're really going to do this," she said quietly. "We're going to war for them." Harper stood beside her, watching the displays shift and change. "The galaxy is about to learn something about humanity, Emma. Something we've kept hidden because we hoped we'd never need to show it." "What's that?" she asked. "That we remember. We remember every kindness shown to us. We remember every friend who stood by us. And we remember how to fight when we must." He turned to look at her. "The Velrans saved us when we were dying. They could have passed us by. Countless species would have. But they stopped. They helped. They cared. That matters, Emma. That matters more than anything else." Across the galaxy, the news was spreading. Humanity was mobilizing its fleet. They were going to defend the Velrans against impossible odds. Reactions varied wildly. Some species admired the gesture. Others called it foolish. The Krath Dominion issued a statement warning humanity to reconsider. High Commander Zarek gave an interview to the Galactic News Networks, his scaled face showing amusement. "The humans are children playing at war. They have some ships, some technology, but they have never faced a true military power. We have crushed civilizations far older and stronger than them. If they interfere, we will add Earth to our list of conquered worlds." The interview was broadcast everywhere. On Earth, people watched with a mixture of fear and anger. But in the fleet beyond Neptune, the crews watched with cold determination. Zarek's arrogance would be his downfall. Admiral Harper sent one final message to the Galactic Council before the fleet departed. It was simple and direct. "Humanity is coming. The Velrans will not stand alone. Whatever happens next, remember that we chose this. We go forward with open eyes and clear purpose. The debt will be repaid." The fleet began to move. 63 warships accelerating toward the jump points that would take them across the galaxy. Inside each ship, crews ran final checks on systems the galaxy had never seen. Weapons that operated on principles other species had abandoned or never discovered. Tactics born from a species that had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of warfare on a single planet before reaching the stars. The galaxy was watching. The Krath were confident. The Velrons were terrified, and humanity was coming to show them all what it meant to owe a debt to the most stubborn species in the universe. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Velron space exactly 3 days after leaving Earth. Captain Kate Palmer stood on the bridge of the Valiant and watched as the beautiful blue-green world of Velron Prime appeared on the view screen. 3 moons orbited the planet, and in the distance, 2 more habitable worlds glowed softly in the system. "All ships reporting in, Captain," said Lieutenant Jake Peterson from the tactical station. 63 vessels, no losses during transit. Admiral Harper is requesting a video link. "Put him through," Kate said. Admiral Harper's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, Kate could see the bridge of his flagship, the Defiant. "Captain Palmer, take your squadron to meet with the Velron Defense Coordinator. Show them our defensive positions. The rest of the fleet will begin setting up the perimeter." "Understood, sir," Kate replied. She turned to her crew. "Navigation, plot a course to the Velron orbital platform. Nice and slow. Let them see us coming." The Valiant and 5 other ships broke away from the main fleet and moved toward the massive space station orbiting Velron Prime. As they approached, Kate saw the Velron Defense Fleet, if it could be called that. 20 small patrol ships, designed for exploration and light police work. They would last minutes against a single Krath warship. A transmission came through, the voice translated from the melodic Velran language. "Human vessels, this is Coordinator Salus. We cannot believe you came. Elder Thrissix said you would, but we thought—" The voice broke with emotion. Kate spoke gently. "We made a promise, Coordinator. Humanity keeps its promises. Permission to dock and meet in person." Granted, please come quickly." "The Krath arrive in 2 days." An hour later, Kate stood in a conference room filled with water, wearing a specialized suit that allowed her to breathe and move. Coordinator Salus floated before her, along with several other Velron military leaders and Elder Thrissix himself. The old Velron moved slowly, his ancient body showing the weight of time. "Captain Palmer," Thrissix said, his tentacles forming patterns of distress. "You should not have come. We are grateful beyond words, but the Krath will destroy you. They have 500 ships. You cannot win this fight." Kate pulled up a holographic display. "Elder Thrissix, with respect, you're thinking about this wrong. We're not here to fight 500 ships at once. We're here to fight them the way humans fight. Let me show you." For the next hour, Kate explained the human strategy. The Velrons listened with growing amazement and horror. What the humans planned was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. It was clever. It was ruthless. It was completely insane. "You will make them afraid," Salus said finally. "The Krath do not know fear. They will learn it." "That's the idea," Kate said. "But we need your help. Can your ships coordinate with ours?" "We have little combat capability," Salus admitted. "Our vessels are exploratory, not military." "That's fine. We need you for something else. Your people know these systems better than anyone. You know every asteroid, every comet, every gravity well. That knowledge is worth more than weapons right now." The Velrons agreed quickly, grateful to have any role in their own defense. As Kate returned to her ship, Elder Thrissix followed her to the docking bay. "Captain Palmer," the old one said quietly, "Why? Why does humanity risk so much for us?" Kate turned to face him. Through her helmet, her expression was soft. 200 years ago, you saved 3,000 humans, including Ambassador Morrison. You didn't have to. You chose to. Now we're choosing to stand with you. It's really that simple. But if you lose, the Krath will come for Earth. Then we better not lose, Kate said with a slight smile. Besides, Elder, you taught us something important when you saved our people. You showed us that some things matter more than survival. Honor matters. Friendship matters. Doing the right thing matters. We're just living by the lessons you taught us. The old Velran's body glowed with emotion. If we survive this, humanity will have our eternal gratitude. You've already had our eternal gratitude for 200 years. Now we're just returning it. Kate sealed her helmet and headed back to her ship. 2 days later, the Krath Armada arrived. 500 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. They were massive vessels built for overwhelming force. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a city. Together, they had conquered dozens of worlds. High Commander Zarak stood on the bridge of his command ship and observed the Velran system. The human fleet was there, 63 ships arranged in a defensive perimeter around the 3 Velran worlds. Zarak laughed. "Open a channel to the humans," he ordered. Admiral Harper's face appeared on the screen. Zarak noticed the human looked calm. Too calm. "Human Admiral, I am High Commander Zarak of the Krath Dominion. You have 3 minutes to withdraw your forces from this system. If you do not comply, we will destroy your fleet and then proceed with our conquest of the Velran worlds. This is your only warning." Harper's response was delivered in a flat, emotionless tone. "High Commander Zarak, I am Admiral Ben Harper of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have 3 minutes to withdraw your forces from this system. If you do not comply, we will disable your fleet and take you into custody for trial on charges of attempted genocide. This is your only warning." Zarak's amusement turned to anger. "You dare threaten me? You have 60 ships, I have 500. Your arrogance will cost you everything." "We'll see," Harper said, and closed the communication. Zarak ordered the attack immediately. The Krath fleet surged forward in their standard formation, a massive wall of ships designed to overwhelm any defense through sheer numbers and firepower. Then the humans did something unexpected. Their fleet broke apart, ships scattered in all directions, moving in patterns that seemed random and chaotic. It looked like panic. It looked like the humans were fleeing in disorder. Zarak smiled. The humans were already breaking. This would be easier than he thought. Then 40 of the 63 human ships simply vanished. One moment they were there, visible on every sensor. The next moment they were gone, as if they had never existed. Zarak stared at his displays in confusion. "Find them! They must be there somewhere!" But the sensors showed nothing. The remaining 23 human ships continued their erratic movements, leading elements of the Krath fleet in different directions. Then the first human ship reappeared, directly behind a Krath cruiser. It fired once, a precise strike that disabled the cruiser's engines and weapons, then vanished again before return fire could be coordinated. Another human ship appeared, struck, and disappeared. Then another, and another. Within 10 minutes, 15 Krath ships were disabled and drifting. The crews were alive but helpless, watching in confusion and growing fear as an enemy they couldn't see or predict took apart their fleet piece by piece. "All ships, defensive formation," Zarak ordered. But how did you defend against an enemy you couldn't see coming? The human ships continued their assault, appearing and disappearing like ghosts, and over every communication channel, the humans were broadcasting something. Not threats, not demands, just recordings. The voices of every species the Krath had conquered, every atrocity, every broken promise, every act of cruelty. The psychological warfare was working. Krath crews began to hesitate. Some even questioned their orders. And all the while, more ships fell to the invisible human attacks. High Commander Zarak realized he had made a terrible mistake. These humans were not the peaceful traders the galaxy knew. They were something else entirely, something dangerous. The battle had been raging for 6 hours, and High Commander Zarek was beginning to understand what fear truly meant. 50 of his ships were disabled, drifting in space with crews alive but helpless. The humans had not destroyed a single vessel. That fact was somehow more terrifying than wholesale destruction would have been. "They're toying with us," his second-in-command said, his voice shaking. "They could kill us all, but they're choosing not to." Zarek slammed his fist against the command console. "All remaining ships converge on my position. We make our stand here. They can't hide from all of us at once." The Krath fleet pulled together into a tight defensive sphere, 450 warships packed close enough that nothing could slip between them unseen. It was a desperate move, but Zarek had no other options. The humans had turned his numerical advantage into a liability. Admiral Harper watched the Krath formation from the bridge of the Defiant. Lieutenant Jake Peterson stood beside him, monitoring the tactical displays. "They've bunched up, sir. They think it will protect them." Harper nodded slowly. "They're still thinking in terms of conventional warfare. They don't understand what they're facing." He opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships. Phase 2 begins now. Show them what humanity is truly capable of." Captain Kate Palmer received the order on the Valiant and felt her heartbeat quicken. Phase 2 was going to shock the entire galaxy. "All hands, prepare for full weapons release. Target engines and weapon systems only. No lethal strikes unless absolutely necessary." The human ships that had been invisible suddenly reappeared, all of them at once. But now they weren't hiding. They were broadcasting on every frequency, making themselves as visible as possible. The Krath sensors locked onto them immediately. Then the humans opened fire. What happened next would be analyzed by military strategists for generations. The human weapons were unlike anything the galaxy used. Kinetic projectiles accelerated to nearly the speed of light by magnetic fields. Energy weapons that could adjust their frequency to bypass specific types of shielding. Electronic warfare systems that turned enemy ships against each other. But more than the weapons themselves, it was how the humans used them. Every shot was calculated. Every strike was precise. They didn't just shoot at the Krath ships. They performed surgery on them, disabling exactly the right systems to leave crews alive, but ships powerless. Within 3 minutes, another 30 Krath vessels were disabled. The human ships moved through the Krath formation like they were dancing, never where the enemy expected. Always 3 steps ahead of any counterattack. Zarek watched in horror as his fleet fell apart. How? How are they doing this?" Jake Peterson could have answered him. The humans weren't just better at technology. They were better at war itself. Every tactical officer in the human fleet had studied thousands of years of human military history. Every battle Earth had ever fought, from ancient times to the space age. Humanity had been practicing warfare since before they discovered fire. They had refined it to an art form. The Krath, by contrast, had won through overwhelming force for so long that they had forgotten how to truly fight. "Commander, incoming transmission from the humans," the communications officer reported. Admiral Harper's face appeared on the screen again. "High Commander Zarek, I am offering you one final chance to surrender. Stand down your remaining vessels and we will guarantee the safety of all your crews. Continue fighting and we will disable every last ship you have. The outcome is not in question. Only how much longer you make this last." Zarek's pride would not allow surrender. "Attack! All ships! Attack the human flagship!" Every remaining functional Krath ship turned their weapons on the Defiant. The firepower directed at that single vessel would have vaporized a planet. But the Defiant's shields held, and more than that, the ship began broadcasting something that made Zarek's blood run cold. It was a list. Every Krath military operation for the past 50 years. Every war crime. Every civilian casualty. Every broken treaty. The humans had documented everything. "How do they have this information?" Zarek demanded. "These are classified military records." The answer came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Jake Peterson was leading a boarding party onto one of the disabled Krath cruisers. They moved through the ship like ghosts, their stealth technology still active. They weren't there to harm anyone. They were there to gather information. "Target database located," Jake reported to his team. "Downloading now." The Krath crew members watched in shock as the humans accessed their computer systems, took what they needed, and vanished again without firing a shot. This happened on ship after ship. The humans were harvesting intelligence in real time, learning and adapting as the battle progressed. Dr. Emma Rodriguez monitored the operation from her station on the Defiant. She was analyzing the psychological state of the Krath forces through their communications. What she saw worried her. "Admiral, the Krath are starting to panic. Some crews are talking about self-destructing rather than surrendering." Harper frowned. "We can't let that happen. Captain Palmer, your orders are to disable their self-destruct systems. Take whatever boarding teams you need." Kate Palmer led 50 human soldiers in an assault on the Krath command ship. They breached the hull in 6 places simultaneously. The Krath security forces tried to stop them, but the humans moved with inhuman coordination. Every move was practiced. Every action was precise. They reached the ship's reactor control room in 4 minutes. Kate personally disabled the self-destruct system while her team secured the area. Not a single life was lost on either side. The Krath soldiers simply stood down, overwhelmed by the speed and efficiency of the human assault. High Commander Zarek found himself staring at a human soldier in full combat armor. Kate Palmer removed her helmet and looked at him calmly. "Commander Zarek, by the authority of the Galactic Council and in accordance with interstellar law, you are under arrest for war crimes against peaceful civilizations. Your fleet is disabled. Your crews are safe. This battle is over." Zarek's voice was barely a whisper. "What are you?" Kate considered the question. "We're humans. We're the species that remembers our friends and stands by them no matter the cost. We're the species that studied war for 10,000 years because we were too good at it, and it nearly destroyed us. We learned how to fight so we could learn how to stop fighting. But when we must fight, we do it better than anyone else in the galaxy." She gestured to her team. "Take him into custody. Treat him with respect. He's a prisoner of war, not a trophy." Across the battlefield, the last Krath ships were being disabled. In total, the engagement had lasted 8 hours. 500 Krath warships had been neutralized. Human casualties: 7 wounded, 0 dead. Krath casualties: fewer than 100, all from accidents during the battle. The galaxy had been watching through long-range sensors and transmitted feeds. Every major civilization saw what happened. They saw the Krath Dominion, the most feared military power in known space, taken apart by a species they had dismissed as peaceful traitors. On the Galactic Council station, delegates sat in stunned silence. Speaker Voth finally found words. "What have we been living beside all these years?" Ambassador Kyle Morrison, watching from Earth, spoke quietly to himself. "Humanity, in all our terrible, wonderful complexity. We choose peace, but we are very, very good at war." The Velrans wept with relief. Elder Thrisix sent a message to Admiral Harper that was broadcast across the galaxy. "You saved us. You risked everything. How can we ever repay this debt?" Harper's response was simple: the same way we repaid ours, by being our friends. 3 weeks after the battle, High Commander Zarek stood before a tribunal on Velran Prime. The courtroom was filled with representatives from dozens of species, all there to witness justice being served. Human guards stood at attention along the walls, their presence a quiet reminder of who had made this trial possible. Ambassador Kyle Morrison sat in the audience next to Elder Thrisix. The old Velrun's body still glowed with emotions too complex for human understanding. Pride, gratitude, fear, hope. The chief prosecutor, a being from the ancient Thanari collective, presented the evidence against Zarak. It was overwhelming. 50 years of conquest. Hundreds of millions displaced or killed. Entire civilizations erased from the galaxy. The humans had documented everything with terrifying precision, but when it came time for sentencing recommendations, Admiral Harper stood to speak. The courtroom fell silent. High Commander Zarak has committed terrible crimes, Harper said, his voice carrying clearly. He deserves punishment under galactic law. But I want to say something about the Krath people themselves. We fought their military, but we also spoke with their crews. Many of them were drafted. Many of them opposed the conquest but had no voice. The Krath Dominion was ruled by military leaders who silenced dissent. He turned to look at Zarak. We ask that Commander Zarak receive a life sentence for his crimes. But we also ask that the Krath people be given a chance to choose new leadership, to build a different future. They shouldn't all be punished for the decisions of their commanders. The courtroom erupted in surprised discussion. The humans had won a total victory. They could have demanded anything. Instead, they were asking for mercy for their enemy's people. Elder Thrissix spoke next, his translated words gentle. The humans act with wisdom beyond their years. We support their recommendation. Let justice be served, but let there also be hope for change. The tribunal agreed. Zarak was sentenced to life imprisonment. The Krath Dominion would be dissolved, and the Krath people would hold democratic elections to form a new government. Human and Velrun observers would ensure fairness. As Zarak was led away, he stopped and looked at Harper. I don't understand you. You could have destroyed us all. Why didn't you? Harper's answer was simple. Because that's not who we are. We fought you to protect our friends, not to become monsters ourselves. 2 days later, the Galactic Council convened in emergency session. The chamber that had once doubted humanity now looked at them with a mixture of respect and fear. Speaker Voth called the session to order. This council must address what occurred in Velrun space. The humans demonstrated military capability far beyond what was known. This raises serious questions about galactic security. Ambassador Kyle Morrison stood to respond. He had prepared his statement carefully. Speaker Voth, honored delegates, humanity understands your concerns. Yes, we have capabilities we didn't advertise. But ask yourselves why we hid them. For 200 years we have sought peace. We have traded fairly. We have helped where we could. We have avoided conflicts. Every military force we built hoping we would never use it. A delegate from the Hierarchs, a species known for aggressive expansion, spoke up. But now we know the truth. You are a warrior species hiding behind smiles. You are dangerous. Captain Kate Palmer, present as a military advisor, responded before Kyle could. With respect, delegate, every species is dangerous. The question is what you do with that danger. We chose to control ours. We chose to use it only in defense of those who need us. That was a choice, not an accident. The debate continued for hours. Some species demanded that humanity disarm. Others suggested restrictions on human military activity. Still others saw opportunity, approaching Kyle quietly about defense agreements. Finally, a member of the ancient Thanari collective asked the question everyone was thinking. Ambassador Morrison, why did humanity develop such terrible capabilities if you truly sought peace? Kyle took a breath before answering. Because we know our own history. On Earth, before we reached space, we fought countless wars. We created weapons that could destroy our entire world. We came so close to extinction so many times. We learned the hard way that peace isn't just the absence of war. Peace is the strength to choose not to fight, even when you can. We built our military not because we wanted to use it, but because we knew that weakness invites aggression. We hoped that by being strong enough to defend ourselves and our friends, we would never have to prove it. He looked around the chamber. Well, now we've proven it. And what did you see? We disabled 500 warships without destroying them. We captured an enemy commander instead of killing him. We advocated for mercy for the people we defeated. Is that the behavior of a species you should fear, or a species you should trust? The question hung in the air. Elder Thrissix rose from his water column to speak. The humans saved my people when they could have stayed safe. They risked everything for a debt 200 years old. They fought with honor and compassion. I submit that any species capable of such loyalty and restraint is exactly the kind of species this council needs. Other species began to speak in support. The Velrans weren't alone in recognizing what humanity had demonstrated. Over the next several days, 12 additional species approached humanity about mutual defense pacts. They were civilizations that had been threatened by aggressive neighbors or had no military power of their own. Admiral Harper addressed representatives from these species in a private meeting. We will accept these alliances, but under specific conditions. First, they are defensive only. Humanity will not wage wars of conquest. Second, we will help you develop your own defenses. We won't make you dependent on us. Third, any member of this alliance must meet the same standard we do, strength tempered by compassion. Can you agree to these terms? Every species agreed. The Velran Defense Alliance was formed, with humanity as its military backbone, but not its ruler. It was a partnership of equals, bound by mutual defense and shared values. Lieutenant Jake Peterson, who had struggled with the morality of fighting, found new purpose in this. He volunteered to train mixed-species defense forces, teaching them not just tactics, but the philosophy behind them. How to be strong without being cruel. How to win without becoming the monster you fought. Dr. Emma Rodriguez established cultural exchange programs between humanity and every species in the alliance. She believed that the best defense was understanding, and that the more species knew each other, the less likely they would be to fight. 6 months after the battle, the Galactic Council voted to grant humanity a permanent seat as a protector species. The vote wasn't unanimous, but it passed with clear majority support. Kyle Morrison accepted on behalf of Earth. His acceptance speech was short. Humanity accepts this responsibility with humility. We are not perfect. We have made mistakes and will make more. But we promise this. We will stand with those who need us. We will honor our debts. We will choose peace when we can and fight with honor when we must. This is the human way. That evening, Kyle stood alone in his quarters, looking at a photo from 200 years ago. A young boy, barely 7, being carried by a Velran through the wreckage of a dying colony. Elder Thrissix had saved that boy. That boy had grown up to save Thrissix's people. Kate Palmer found him there. Thinking about the old days? Thinking about how far we've come, Kyle said, and about what we've become. Are you worried we're becoming what we fought? Kate asked. Kyle shook his head. No. I think we're becoming what we were always meant to be. A species that remembers, that stands by its friends, that chooses compassion even when we could choose cruelty. He smiled slightly. The Velrans taught us that. Now we're teaching the galaxy. From orbit, Earth glowed blue and green. Human ships patrolled alongside Velran vessels and craft from a dozen other species. In every direction, civilizations were learning that there was a new force in the galaxy. Not conquerors, not invaders, but protectors, friends, allies who would stand by you when the darkness came. Humanity had repaid its debt. But more than that, they had shown the galaxy what they truly were. And the galaxy, trembling with both fear and hope, would never forget it.